All right, God bless everybody. Today our topic is our spiritual advantage. Let me ask you a couple of questions. If Noah never built his ark, would parents read bedtime stories about Noah's zoo? You know, if Moses never parted the Red Sea and led the children of Israel into the promised land, would we still discuss his successful goat farm in the land of Midian? If David never slew Goliath, would Sunday schools talk about David's excellent sheep herding skills? You know, if Jesus Christ never did a single miracle, would his amazing carpentry skills be talked about today? You know, there's four basic things that separated these amazing people from the humdrum of humanity. The things that made them stand out from the masses, the things in their lives that blew people's minds, was their unwavering belief in God, confidence in their own spiritual abilities, the ability to withstand the accuser, and four, taking consistent action. And they fully believed in and took action on the belief that God not only had cared for them and had supplied all their need, but they were given an obvious spiritual edge. They lived at a level that most people only read about. You too have been given a spiritual or similar spiritual advantage. Can you see it? You know, is it obvious to others? Do others notice? Well, I say yes, and you'll understand what I'm saying by the end of the teaching. You know, everybody thinks that you have to do mighty signs, miracles, and wonders to prove that that you have the Spirit of God. But I'm going to show you something different in a little bit. There's going to come a day when people will tell stories about you. And I want to let you know that I already do tell stories about you, and they're great stories. Great stories. So let's light up the world as we utilize our spiritual advantage. Here's a question. Do we still need the Spirit of God? Do we still need the Spirit of God? Now let's combine the first 2 points. A belief in God and having confidence in our spiritual ability as we answer this question, do we still need the Spirit of God? So I often marvel at recent advances in art and medicine and architecture, education, music, technology, and I wonder how in the world did anybody come up with some of these ideas? I look at what the Romans built, 700 years BC, and I marvel. I couldn't do that. You know, in Pompeii, I told you this before, they had flush toilets. They had automatic street cleaners way back in the day. They had the technology of concrete, of cement, which we didn't really gain access to until almost 1900. What happened? And how did these pagans have this kind of ingenuity? You know, it wasn't that long ago the information superhighway traveled at about 5 miles an hour. And for thousands of years, the speed of a horse or walking or a boat sailing was as fast as news traveled. Now nowadays, Google seems to already know what you're about to type into the search bar before you even touch a key. It blows my mind sometimes. I'll just click on Google and then the words I was looking for pop up. How did it know? You see, it's spooky sort of, but it gets worse. When I was a kid, the crisper was the drawer in the fridge in which you kept leafy green vegetables. The crisper. Now with something called the CRISPR, CRISPR technology, scientists can make precision edits to any DNA. And it's whether bacterial or human. And this new technology allows them the ability to cut and paste genetic information within the body as simply as editing a Word document. What's this mean? Well, CRISPR has been already proven to cure certain genetic diseases in live animals And they're working feverishly on genetic cures for diseases like cancer, muscular dystrophy, and ALS. And if you've ever known people with these dreaded diseases, it's horrible. And there's websites like Berkeley EDU, Futurism.com. There's many. Just look it up. And with all the great possibilities, this new splicing technique that it brings to medicine, people are beginning to be concerned about the dark side of that discovery. CRISPR gives man the ability to create designer babies. I want blue eyes. I want black eyes. You know, I want this length, or this height, or this size, or this hair color, or this smarts. And they can do that if they let this thing go where it'll probably end up going. They could build super soldiers. Or once again, try to create that genetically superior race of people. You know, not to mention that CRISPR-Cas9 technology, a Harvard geneticist, they're proving that Jurassic Park may not just be a movie anymore. They could literally splice DNA, you know, old stuff with new. So, and you can look that up on geneticliteracyproject.org. You know, there's brilliant people mentioned around supper tables now and touted at motivational seminars, but they're not Christians. They're not believers usually. Today, the people who stand out, the ones who ding the universe, usually don't even know that there's a Spirit of God. What happened? What's wrong? Why do we need the Spirit of God today if you can make designer babies? All of these medical advances, or should I say with all these medical advances, is there still a spiritual advantage to be had? Well, there still is a need for us to walk by the Spirit. You know, there still is a need for us to walk by spiritual power. Why? Well, you guys know the answer to that. There has to be an advantage, folks. There has to be an advantage to being a Christian. Just so happens, today happens to be what the Christian church calls the day of Pentecost. It's the birthday of the church. It's a day that the first gift of Holy Spirit was ever given. And it gave them a great advantage over society and over things. It changed the world. Still is changing the world. But the world is more and more pulling away. But we'll get to that in a moment. Now, Galatians 4:19 from the AMP says, "My little children, from whom I am again suffering birth pangs, until Christ is completely and permanently formed, molded within you." Till it's completely formed and molded within us. I thought once you had Christ in you had Christ in you. So there's got to be something more. How do you get it completely formed in you? And I think that's what Christians are struggling with today. How do I do this? You live in this world, you go to work all day, you go home, you watch your favorite shows, you go to sleep, and it starts all over again. Till you go to church on Sunday, or listen to some, audio or video or live stream, you see. We don't need CRISPR in order to display and manifest spiritual power. We just need to figure out how to grow into the Spirit of God that we've been given, how to utilize that. And it's not hard, folks. It's the easiest thing that we've ever done. It's easier than learning to read, yet we make it so hard. Colossians 2:9 and 10 from the Message. Everything of God gets expressed in Him, so you can see and hear Him clearly. You don't need a telescope, a microscope, or a horoscope to realize the fullness of Christ and the emptiness of the universe without Him. When you come to Him, that fullness comes together for you too. His power exceeds over everything. And we can do the same works that Jesus did, right? We can do the same works. Yet so many people choose not to. You see, because of the Spirit of God that lives in you, you are complete in Him. Right now, even with our wonderful flaws, you are fully and absolutely beautifully complete in Him. You're an absolutely beautiful, complete human being. You are what God wanted before the foundation of the world. The angels looked into what you are. They look down and go, whoa, man, that's something. The prophets knew there was going to be something. We have it, folks. You're already perfect to God. Doesn't matter what your neighbor said. It doesn't matter what your dad said. It doesn't matter what your uncle said or your coach said. You are already God's designer, baby. You're already God's designer, child. And you have been since before the foundation of the world. You've been that way since before the foundation of the world. How long ago was that? You see, Ephesians, doesn't it talk about that in Ephesians 1:4? You see, the Spirit of God, it helps us where we're weak. Romans 8:26 and 27. It negotiates with God on our behalf. Romans 8:26. It guides us to the truth. John 16:13. It comforts us in times of hardship. 2 Corinthians 1:4. It cleanses, sanctifies, and justifies us. 1 Corinthians 6:11. It reminds us of the word that we already know when we need to know it. John 14:26. With that Spirit of God, we are designed to be super conquerors. We have all sufficiency in all things. We are designed to be and destined to have everything exceeding abundantly above all that we ask or think. Think the Spirit of God is profitable for us today like it was them in the first century? Absolutely. You bet it is. It's just as powerful. It's just as necessary as it ever was. We just got to let our lights shine. You and I don't need to wait around for CRISPR-Cas9 technology to cure all our diseases, to create our perfect dog, or to have designer children. We've already been given all things that pertain unto life and godliness, 2 Peter 1:3. Now, all we need to do is figure out how to use our God-given power and learn how to overcome the forces that want to stop us. And folks, yes, there are forces that want to stop you. Today we can find our truth and live out our true calling. At this very second, we can live super abundantly, prosper amazingly, and still have the energy left over to help somebody else. Isn't that what God wants? Prosper and be in health and help other people? It's really that simple. It's really that simple. And that's why we have that Spirit of God. Whether or not we will ever bring back the woolly mammoth, I don't know. You see, but I do know that we need true belief in the Creator and a supreme confidence in our own spiritual abilities. A lot of people believe in God, but they don't believe in themselves. And that's why they live with lack. You got to believe in yourself. And you got to believe in the Creator. And that's one of the first things the adversary tries to poke and prod you away from. Now, what stops us and how do we avoid it? What stops us and how do we avoid it? The second part of my intro revolve around the ability to withstand the accuser and find a way to take consistent action. Remember, nothing happens without action. You can have all kinds of dreams. You can write down your goals. But if you don't do anything about it, nothing's ever going to happen, right? And so ever wonder why there's so much opposition to the amazing promises of God? It seems like we get challenged on every positive move. Doesn't it ever seem like that to you? It seems like you get going and then somebody tries to smack you down. Something happens. The car breaks. Something happens. You saved money for something and then it has to go to something else. You see, we get challenged. We're going to. We always have. We always will. That's just life, but you're tough enough to handle that. Why? Well, you're God's kid. Plus you got the Spirit of God. You see, it makes me think of my 6th grade science class where I first heard about Newton's third law. Newton's third law is For every action, there's an equal and opposite reaction. In other words, at the junction of every interaction, there's a pair of forces trying to influence the outcome of every action. It's always going to be two. You know, it's like every muscle. There's one that pulls and one that pushes. It's just the way life is. You know, what do they call it? The yin and the yang, you know, the Chinese do. You see? I mean, it's there. It's light and dark. It's love and hate. It's always going to be there. Where there's one, there's going to be the other. And so choose love. Choose light. You see, Ephesians 6:12 from the Phillips. For our fight is not against any physical enemy. It is against organizations and powers that are spiritual. We are up against the unseen power that controls this dark world and spiritual agents from the very headquarters of evil. And don't think you aren't, folks, but it's nothing to be afraid of. We're designed to handle this. There's more that's with us than against us, right? If the devil took 1/3 of the angels, that means how many thirds are still left to help us? 2/3. There's twice as, you should have twice as much as the people in the world. You know, we got something, folks. That Spirit of God makes a difference. We got a God, and we got that Spirit of God. I mean, but we do have the enemy, but we need to figure a way to circumvent that, to overcome it. And we've been given a way. Now, for the most part, God's already done His part. But now, and many times we become the determining factor. God doesn't make you happy. God doesn't make you blessed. I guess we're already blessed, so maybe He does make us blessed. But God doesn't make you healthy. He's given us health, right? He's given us, God doesn't make you make money. How many Christians are poor as dogs? And they struggle their whole Christian life as they polish their little cross or dove or fish, you see, and put stickers all over their car. You see? I mean, it's wild, but God's done His part. Our part is pretty simple. You see? You know, and I know you're thinking, no, God is the determining factor, and my life is in God's hands. Well, you better put your life in your hands a little bit too. You see, I get your point, but I still say that you are the determining factor as to which force you allow will affect you. It's always our choice. And this is the only thing that stops us. Remember what I taught a few months ago about the Satan effect? You know, if paradise is God's original plan for mankind, perfection, dominion over the earth, and then then the enemy took over, was given the power, and then now we live in a hellish society in many ways. And then when the enemy's gone, we're going to be back in paradise again, right? In dominion and perfection. Well, what's the one missing denominator? It's Satan, right? That's why I call it the Satan effect. And I want to explain something to you. We've been taught different things about Satan and the devil. Okay? Now, the devil is the being, right? And we know that. And we think Satan is just the effects. Well, Satan is bigger than the devil, just so you know. It's bigger. And Satan many times is if you read the book of Revelation, it's placed in terms of a being. It's because it's that being and all it encompasses. Now just think, there's things that you say that are in people's heads from many years ago. You told your kids things, and they still remember it. You still remember what your mom told you. Sometimes her words will pop into your head, or your coach, or your uncle, or your dad, or somebody, right? So their effect, that's like the effects of the devil. But Satan is bigger. It's the devil and all his hosts, all the people that work with him, and all the systems of the world. Satan is huge, and that's where he wants us to end up, is in that lap. You see, but it's our decision how we're going to do it. My God, you got the Spirit of God. We can avoid any and every trap if we want to. That's how Jesus was able to do what He did. He saw it coming and He avoided it. or he circumvented it, or he just plowed right through it until it was time for him to die. And then he gave up. You see? See, God doesn't make you believe. God, it's not his job to make you happy. You know, it's not his job to make you huggable. You know, that's your job. You got to make yourself huggable. But to me, you already are, you know. I'll give you a group hug right now. Oh, man, I feel better already. See, our job is to believe in that power and that beneficent God. Our job is to believe that that very same good God filled us with a power that should make our lives more habitable, more interesting than anybody else on earth. We should be noticeable. You know, but we do have an enemy, a negative force, an adversary whose only job is to stop that good from happening. Hey, it's Newton's third law. Forget about it. You see, the devil doesn't hate you any more than he hates anybody else. He's consistently and fairly evil to everybody on earth. He's consistently bad to anybody who acts in a positive way, whether you're Christian or not. See, the reason we have the Spirit of God is so we can have the advantage to see some of the attacks and to avoid them. We have the Spirit of God so we can help a person see all the good that surrounds them. That's what I want you to see, folks. I want you to see the power you're surrounded with. Not just the angels, not just God, but that Spirit of God that dwells in you, that inhabits you, that's formed within you deeply. Matthew 5:45 from the Voice. He, after all, loves each of us, good and evil, kind and cruel, and he causes the sun to rise and shine on evil and good alike. He causes the sun to rise and shine on evil and good alike. And then he causes the rain to water the fields of the righteous and the fields of the sinner. Now, that really doesn't make sense to most Christians. They think that God should bless them because they're good. And it was hard for me. It's really hard for me to not think I should be blessed because of all the years I put in. But you're blessed because God's great. Right. You're blessed because God is love. You're blessed because God is light. You're blessed because God is spirit. You're blessed because God gave many people on this earth His Spirit so that we can live a little bit like Him, live a little bigger, live a little larger, live a little more love, light, and goodness. You see, He loves the bad people just as much as He loves you. Did you know that? That's hard to comprehend, and I get it. I know it's hard to fathom, folks, but it's true. You have to believe that or you won't believe for His goodness when you do something stupid. But I know you never do that. You know? Because if you think that it's by your works, by your goodness that He blesses you, my God, you're going to be sorely lacking. You see? How do we even know if what we're doing is right? Because it fits with our culture? Well, maybe our culture is wrong, and we just think it's right. Ever think of that? There's a lot of things that we do just naturally that we always do and that we think because it's just the way things are done in our country. But they may not be the way God would really have a human think. And I dare say they aren't, or we would be living a lot better. Even though I believe this is the greatest country on earth. Now, all you other countries I love too. I love you, but I live here. So, and God loves you, man. And even Christ suffered for the sins of the just and the unjust. 1 Peter 3:18 said, He suffered, He died, He lived for the sins of the just and the unjust. What does that tell you? Who did He hang out with? Just people who liked Him? No. That's who I like to hang out with. I don't like to hang out with people who don't like me. You know, I don't like to hang out with people who don't like God. But Jesus, he went out there, man. He put the word to the test. Now back to our second topic. What stops the good from getting to us? And how can we avoid it? How can we avoid the bad? How can we avoid what stops us from doing good? Because I tell you, if you can see the good and you can find your way over to it, I guarantee you're going to get there. Why don't we have all good things that we've been promised? It's because we look the wrong way. We're just used to looking a certain way. Like I've said many times in teachings. You ever driven down a road and noticed a building that you never noticed before? And you go, whoa! And you know you've driven past it 10 years in a row, but why haven't you ever seen it? Because you always are looking this way. You see, instead of that way. You know, I mean, it's just, we've just trained ourselves to not see. That we're world trained. And all I want to do is motivate you just a little bit to snap a little bit out of that. And then tomorrow snap a little bit more. Pretty soon you're going to start seeing what you're supposed to see. How would you like to see all the blessings that are supposed to be yours? I don't even know if we can handle it. Just imagine. Everything. All the promises of God. Physically, mentally. Yeah, that one shoulder that you have. That sore back. That foot. That knee. You know, that stomach pain. The sore throat. Whatever it is. Imagine if you could see total health. CRISPR can. Now just think, if a human can splice genes and cure a disease, can God, who designed DNA and RNA? We're not seeing big enough, folks. If man can do it, and these guys are curing diseases in mice right and left now with this CRISPR technology. What can God do? What does he do? I bet he's healing us a lot more than we even know. You know, 1 Peter chapter 5. See, we have an enemy that seeks to oppose anything that gives off light. If you give off light, I guarantee you're going to get opposition. It's not just Christians that give off light, folks. You better get that out of your head. You're not the only ones that walk with any truth and light. There's more to life than you're seeing. I know I take pride in being a Christian. I get it. But there's more to it than that. This world would be a horrible mess. Josephine and I, we pray every day, and I pray for some of these idiot leaders have their finger on a nuclear button. You see, I'm not talking about in our country. You see, and I pray for God somehow to show them reason so they don't do something stupid and annihilate most of their population. And we're starting to see some changes in some of these things. I don't care how it happens, but we need reason. We need light to wiggle its way in. How does it happen? That's God's job. That's not mine. But he says pray for those in authority, right? So that we can live a quiet and peaceable life in all godliness and honesty. Pray for those in authority. Why? I don't know. God said to do it, so I'm going to do it. And I do it. I don't like those guys. I don't like to look at their stupid fat heads with weird haircuts. You see? I don't like it. You see? But I still think about them and I pray for those dudes and girls. You see? 1 Peter 5, 7 and 8, King James. Casting all your care upon him, for he careth for you. That's a lovely verse. Now look what follows it. Be sober. Be vigilant. Because your adversary the devil, as a roaring lion, walketh about seeking whom he may devour. You think he likes you when you walk in light and love and truth? No. But he ain't just after you. He doesn't care about you. He's not angry at you individually. He's angry at God. He's angry at humanity on the whole. He's just angry. He's hateful. You see, he's an equal opportunity hater. He hates everybody. He hates the evil and he hates the good. God loves the good and loves the evil. There's the opposites. we were talking about. See, old Peter got it right. Those verses show the solution, the problem, and a couple of tips on how to circumvent the venom of the enemy. It's funny. I'm not sure if I said this in a teaching, but just the other day I was running on a trail and I saw a little rattlesnake. It was only about this long. And I saw this magpie just nipping at it and then backing away, nipping at it and backing away, nipping at it and backing away. And I ran past, turned around, I wanted to watch it because it was sort of fun, you know. And then it just did it until it killed the thing and ate it, you see. And, but think of whichever one you want to think of as the adversary. I don't care, you know, the magpie or the snake. I don't care. But the adversary is just going to keep nipping at you. But you nip at him with the light too, right? You keep going after him. You keep pecking at him. You see, you never back down, never back off, never turn your back. Be sober. Be vigilant. Keep your head on that swivel. Keep your eyes open. You see, we're always looking at the finish line, yet at the same time we're prepared for an attack. Like I told you, but when I got that new running watch last year, and first day I used it, I was on a mountain trail, you know, and all of a sudden it buzzed, and I looked and it said Facebook message, so I touched it, you know, and it was from somebody, probably from Josephine or something, and then next thing I know, I was tumbling down Pikes Peak. I was just momentarily distracted, and I tripped over a rock and started rolling. Hey, that'd be a good way. That'd be a good kind of music, right? Yeah. You know, so the point being, you be sober, keep your head together, and be vigilant. Keep your head on a swivel. Keep looking, and then stay focused on what you're doing when you're doing it. And that's a big key in this teaching. That's how you do your part. It's part of how you do your part. See, we throw our problems on God, remembering that He always cares for us, and we keep our eyes wide open. We're always looking at that finish line, but at the same time, we're prepared for the attack. Just like Newton's apple fell from the tree and his third law of motion, as you move, there will be opposition. There will be. I've learned to avoid the rocks when I run. I can run pretty good uphill and downhill, you see, but it took me time. I used to fall, and I'd come home bloody sometimes from a race. It's not fun. I don't fall much anymore. It's because I've learned. I'm more aware. I'm more aware of my body and where it lands and what it does. You see, have you ever seen those cheesy car commercials where they say that they'll buy your old car even if you have to push, pull, or drag it to the lot? You see? And the devil's sort of like that. He's going to push, pull, and try to drag you to his lot. He pokes, he pushes, and he pulls until he gets you on his property, and then he tries to buy you. Like a bad, slick car salesman. Offering you half as much as it's worth. See, the devil manipulated mankind almost undetected for thousands of years until Jesus pulled his shroud off. 1 John 3:8. And yes, I want to call him an it, because Satan, the devil, is an it. It's not a he, it's not a she. It's an it. It's an it. You know, but for brevity of time, I'm going to try to summarize what I'm saying about our great opponent. There's three basic tricks that seem to keep working with us humans. They work over and over and over. You know why the devil keeps using these same three tricks? Anybody can figure that out? Because they work. They work. Why do they still work? I don't know. We're just stupid sometimes. As Josephine's dad used to tell her when she was a kid, you know, what are you, stupid? When she would do something stupid. And so there's three basic, and basically it's to poke, to push, and to pull is how I termed it today. It's how I visualize it. You remember in school when somebody would poke you and just keep poking you until you finally reacted and hit them or grabbed their finger and tried to, you know what I mean? They poked you until you did something about it. That's what the devil will do. He wants to see what you're made of. You see, he wants to see how far you're going to allow him to go, so he's going to poke, and he's going to poke. He's going to poke you with thoughts and pictures and images and to see how far you're going to allow him to take you until you say, nope, not going to happen. Not going to go any further. This is as far as you go, buddy. You see? And next we're pushed to do or say something stupid that causes us harm. You ever said something that you knew was stupid the second it came out of your mouth? I still remember times. I remember I asked a lady one time, so when do you do? She said, I'm not pregnant, you know. And I remember that's the last time I ever did that. She wasn't happy. I was embarrassed. But look how many times your kids get pushed. Come on, jump off the roof. Didn't the devil try to do that to Jesus? Come on, just jump. Angels will catch you. Or my friend BZ, who jumped out of the second story window on the Air Force Base with a sheet, holding the four corners and busted his arm. You know, just jump. Come on, BZ. That wasn't me who did it. I'm sure it was one of my other friends who were a little more devious than I. Not really. First you're poked, and then you're pushed to do or say something stupid. You see? And then finally we're pulled or we're lured into wanting the world more than we want God. Hey, what do I need God for if I got a CRISPR? I don't need to get my liver healed. We'll just make a new one. We'll change the genetics. You think that stuff's not going to happen, folks? I guarantee it's going to happen. Oh, we don't need an army. We're going to make an army. In 20 years, we're going to have the mightiest army you've ever seen. They're going to be smart, big, fast, and dumb at the same time. Whatever. A designer baby. It's crazy. Everybody dreams of what kind of baby they're going to have. You usually don't get it. So pretty wild. Just so happened that my computer just went to blue screen. So I'm going to finish this thing up here, folks. But the point of this is, he tries to push. He tries to poke you, until he'll see how far you'll go. And then he pushes you to do something stupid, and then he lures you onto his lot until he owns you. That's what happened to Eve. She saw something shiny. I like it, and then he knew he got her. Then he pushed her to say and do something stupid, and then she gave it all up. Then she gave it all up, for some shiny thing. It's crazy. It's crazy. The devil tried the same trick on Jesus, didn't he? It's the same temptations. He poked him to see what he was made of. And it didn't work. And then he pushed him to do something stupid. Come on, jump off that ledge of this building. God will take care of you. Just jump off. Everything's going to be okay. Angels are going to catch you. You've been a good boy. Why wouldn't God take care of you? You're so good. Well, Jesus said, back off, idiot. And then he would quote scripture back at him. And then he said, hey, I'll give you all the wealth of the world if you'll just bow down and worship me. So what does it mean to worship the devil? It means to put the world first. How many ministers have traded their ministry, have traded their spirituality to what they think of as their ministry? How many of them? You see, I don't know. How many families have been lost because somebody put another person above their family? Happens all the time. It's the same tricks, folks. It's just poke, push, and then pull. Pressure, pleasure. But it's always after a testing. You see, the tempter is the tester. You see, then the devil is that one who gets you to do something stupid, who drives you to do something that you would never want to do on your own. You see, you say something, you do something stupid, and then Satan is that all-encompassing, all-engulfing, and you see the beauty of the world and the riches and the glory and the fame and the fortune that comes with it, and that's that lure. And then we don't need God because we got a CRISPR. We don't need God because we got science. Now, I love science, and I know that stuff's going to do good for some people, and I'm happy. I see people suffering from these diseases all the time. And I want nothing more. But folks, I want you to realize, and I don't have time to really flesh this out, but the one thing, you may never do a signs, miracle, or wonder, a great and mighty one. And maybe you do all the time. I don't know. But the one thing we can have and do have is we can walk by the Spirit of God. And when we do that, there's going to be something that shows, and it's called the fruit of the Spirit. And I believe it's love, joy, peace, long-suffering, gentleness, goodness, faith, meekness, temperance. You see, against which nobody can stand against. Those are the 9 things, folks. If you walk by the Spirit, and this is what the world needs to see more than anything, as much if not more than the miracles, and they need to see your love. They need to see your joy. They need to see your peace. They need to see your patience, your self-control. They need to see the mercy and the kindness of God. You got to let your light so shine before men that they see your good works and glorify your Father which is in heaven. Folks, that's all this is. You see, our spiritual advantage could be walking by the Spirit and doing signs, miracles, and wonders, but just as much, people need to see our love, our joy, our peace, our long-suffering, our goodness, our gentleness, our meekness, our kindness. And folks, that is our spiritual advantage. God bless.